Hey, so here's why people misunderstand you after your spiritual awakening. So, a lot of people build the structure of their physical reality completely dependent on them staying in lower states of consciousness. And when you awaken and raise your state of consciousness, you may not realize how much you challenge people when you interact with them. Just the ways that you think, the things that you say are very different and new to people who are used to going their whole lives surrounded by others in lower states of consciousness. The nature of consciousness, right, is that we attract those who are similar on similar states of consciousness as us, in similar states of consciousness as us. Generational cycles make it so that you tend to, the original fated reality that was given to you is the same people over and over and over again, the same cycles. So with that, there are people that you may come across after awakening that have never met someone like you. And so you challenge them. And the things that you say don't make sense to them. They challenge them in the way that they give them an opportunity to expand. But the matrix is designed intentionally in such a way that it convinces people to build the structure of their life dependent on them staying in lower states of consciousness. So when you say something that gives them an opportunity to expand, on some level, they understand the consequence of expansion that will occur, and they're not willing to take on those consequences. They're not willing to destroy the structure of their entire physical reality for expansion because they cannot see that they're choosing not to see that their reality can be more, and that their reality isn't actually what they think it is. They don't want to accept that. And so this is why, as after awakening, your physical reality might destructure itself and completely destabilize and go into chaos, because the matrix was designed in such a way as a kind of threat. If you expand and raise your consciousness, your physical reality will crumble. And though through awakening you connect with the power of God, of Source, Spirit, and that is what allows you to rebuild a physical structure and a physical reality that isn't dependent on lower states of consciousness. So if we want to go a little bit deeper into like the mechanisms that happen, in one of my recent experiences, I got to see what was happening with my own eyes in these people. And so I want to share some of this with you. So basically, there's I was a sort of whistleblower in this workplace, you could call it. And as I'm sharing my stories of the all of the mistreatment that was going on towards me, I was wondering why my managers were so resistant to everything I was saying. And what we see is that when people are existing in spaces where harm is happening, the easiest path of consciousness is to, or we could say the path of least consequence, kinda. The path of least consequence is to pretend the harm does not exist and blame the victim. And so when you go into a workplace and you're awakened, you're no longer, and I was awakened, I was no longer pretending the harm didn't exist, and I was no longer blaming myself, the victim. I was no longer blaming, making excuses for people. And so when I share things, it directly conflicted with the beliefs that people had in that workplace. right? If you are in an environment with a lot of malicious people and there's a lot of harm going on, a lot of corruption, when someone comes in and exposes that corruption and exposes all that harm, if you choose to expand and accept that harm is happening, well, their sense of safety, their false sense of safety collapses, right? Their whole life collapses. And the only way to cope with these like really toxic environments is to pretend it's not real, is to blame the victim. And honestly, it's to become the dangerous person yourself. And so they literally will not be able to, they literally could not understand me. And I was seeing how their illusions were what was we're creating all this, what is it, mental fog, or like lies and gossip, and I'm having a little bit of difficulty explaining it, but I could just see how they had to choose the illusion because they're dependent on it. And so this is why people misunderstand others who have awakened, is they're a threat to their beliefs. When something questions their beliefs, when someone makes someone question their belief, it is a lot easier for people to double down on their beliefs and blame you and gaslight you than it is to expand and destroy their whole reality. If they choose to expand, they also have to feel the guilt of how they've played a part in the harm, how they've enabled the harm, and that's more consequences. And they can sense that, right? I don't ever like to look at people from this lens of like everyone's stupid, or like some people are just dumber. I see like we all have intuition, but what is our intuition wired to, right? Their survival instincts is wired to keeping them in lower states of consciousness. So you become a threat as someone in higher states of consciousness to their survival. But what they don't see is that they are protecting a system, a matrix that has victimized them. That you're not actually a threat to them. You're a threat to the energies that control them. And that's what they can't see. And when we recognize that higher consciousness, God, isn't a threat to us as humans, but a threat to a system that wants to extract energy from the people, we awaken. We choose the higher consciousness. We choose to expand. Many people misunderstand you after awakening. We could get simple and say that people can only understand the depths of where they went in themselves, but one way the Matrix is designed is to never give people rest. People who have awakened and expanded into higher consciousness, intuitively, we've given ourselves periods of rest that go against what our family thinks is right, what society would say is right. And this is by higher guidance, because the system has been designed so that people are always in go mode. They're always hustling. I know that if you're awakened, you know what it's like to work in a matrix job, and you feel like you never get a chance to rest. You never get a chance to like process or come out of like survival mode or stress mode, and it kind of puts you into this like freeze kind of mode, the matrix jobs. And that is by design, because when humans get a period of rest is when they can expand their consciousness. It's when they can think clearly. It's when they can move on and actually learn their lessons, right? Because the thing about narcissistic systems and lower consciousness systems is that they exist to teach us lessons. But when those systems don't want you to learn your lessons and move on from them, what they'll do is try everything they can to prevent you from learning those lessons. And one way they do this to people is by preventing people from resting. So many people never have been able to stop and rest and trust themselves enough to stop and give themselves rest. That would set the path of their life into something more fulfilling and freeing and positive and peaceful and happy and harmonious. There ain't no rest for the wicked. It's a good term. Wicked people or evil people, they never rest. Because if you rested, you'd have to expand. And so, as that is for evil people also prevent rest in others. Because the rest leads to expansion. A perspective I really love to entertain is like, how do I want to phrase it? It's like, we're not supposed to be in these jobs where we are like there for 50 years. We're supposed to learn our lessons and get out. And then those jobs should evolve into higher consciousness jobs. So what's been going on where we've got the same lower consciousness jobs? Well, it's the prevention of lessons, the prevention of growth. And many people fear growth for reasons we've talked about in this video. They fear that they will lose everything. It's like that fear of letting go of the structures that aren't truly serving you, the physical structures. It's the fear of what will happen if you will expand, and this fear is very valid. It's valid because the fear comes from our deep-seated childhood conditioning, where we learned that shining meant danger. And so you're awakened, you're expanded, you shine no matter what. And you come in and you pose this conflict to everyone who is existing in the conditioning that shining is dangerous, that you're not allowed to shine. You know? And so this creates this jealousy and envy in people you come across, where they can't understand why they have chosen to be small. They learn that success equals being small. But you're over here shining. And they really want to shine too. They do. And that's why they get jealous too. And so you come over here, you come into these families, environments, and you're shining. And you're protected, and you're succeeding. And you're doing it way better than them, so it poses a conflict to everything that they've accepted as real and true. Their beliefs. That success is being small. That shining is dangerous. You see, people choose to be incompetent, ignorant, because they've learned that's what brings them success and reward in the Matrix. And so it's hard to understand how you could shine, why you would shine, when you could have all these things that they have. But you don't want what they have. You don't want those illusions. And they don't want what they have either. But they carry this addiction to the illusion. It's like a carrot on the stick, the devil. The devilish energies. It's like a carrot on a stick, like, oh, you can never quite get it, you know? It never quite feels right. It never quite feels enough for them. And so it's very difficult for someone to understand you. Because their whole ego would collapse. Everything I know about life isn't true. And it's dangerous for a lot of souls because, or it's even more hard for a lot of souls because not only would their ego collapse, but their whole life would collapse, and there'd be so much karma to be had. So this is why people misunderstand you when you awaken, and it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good. So and we must take care of ourselves and find mirrors in our life that are accurate, so that we can remember who we are and not have our energy distorted by people who cannot mirror us correctly.